objections. You can arrest, you can investigate.
All right,
Mr. Gandhi, I understood you. Mr. Gandhi, I understood you. Let me ask Mr. Antony to respond to your charges. The question number one, can you arrest a sitting cabinet minister of a state without taking any permission from either the chief minister or going through a legal constitutional process? That's question number one. Question number two, can you actually raid the secretariat of a state government? Does this completely junk the powers of the state governments if agencies can walk in and out of secretariats? Respond to both the charges, Mr. Antony.
Navika, thank you for the question. So first of all, I would like to make one thing clear to all the viewers and the panelists, that whatever is happening right now, this is all happening after the Honorable Supreme Court reopened the case and directed the ED to proceed with the natural procedures. And in that same Supreme Court verdict, if you look at the previous verdict, the Supreme Court themselves, the Supreme Court itself had a lot of damning observations against the state's police apparatus while they reopened the case, where the Supreme Court themselves, this is what they said: the non-inclusion in the final report of the offences under the Prevention of Corruption Act, the less said the better. So this is what the Supreme Court itself has said while they were opening the case. So here we have a scenario where, yes, my friend in the DMK is saying, you should have asked our permission, you should have done this. But if you look at the last 2-3 years, ever since the DMK's second government came in 2021, we are seeing an unprecedented situation where a state government is using all the machineries that is available to the state government, including the police forces, including the health department, every other machinery, to ensure that a very corrupt person, and these are not my words or the BJP's words, these are the words of DMK's tallest leader, DMK's leader, who in 2016 and in the previous months before had said that this is a very corrupt leader. In the 2016 election, this was one of the election issues where the previous transport minister, Mr. Senthil, who was there in the AIDMK ministry, they wanted him to initially resign, and then Jayalalitha ji removed him from the cabinet, and then still it was an election issue. Then in 2018, it was again during the DMK government's time, where the Home Ministry is controlled by the DMK, when the first case was registered against Mr. Senthil. And then later he became a minister, and now these are attempts to whitewash him. The police in the state is actually using whatever it is possible to ensure that the cases are as diluted as possible so that he can go scot-free. Then the case went to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court noticed all this. The Supreme Court gave a very damning observation against the police machinery, reopened the case, and then have asked ED to proceed in the natural way. And this is happening in the state now. So to answer your question, the first, yes, because you have a chief minister and the state machinery which is actually trying to protect the accused.
But this is not the natural way.
Yes. Once again, it is a yes, because the ED is...
The Supreme Court never said to raid the secretariat in the middle of the night. Let us understand that. The Supreme Court never said to raid the secretariat in the middle of the night. And the Supreme Court never said to arrest Mr. Senthil Balaji in the middle of the night. The Supreme Court never said to interrogate Mr. Senthil Balaji for 24 hours. That is inhumane. Let us understand the whole thing. The Supreme Court only said conclude the investigation within 60 days. Concluding the investigation means they could have summoned Mr. Senthil Balaji, they could have treated him with respect, they could have investigated him and filed a charge sheet. That is what the Supreme Court said.
My friend,
don't bring
anybody who is violating the law, can they set a precondition of being treated with respect? Anybody who is allegedly in violation of laws of the land.
How are you coming to the... Before the trial is over.
Allegedly, that is the charge.
60 days.
No, that is the charge.
Navika, don't please play with the words. On what basis you are saying Mr. Senthil Balaji has violated the law? The Supreme Court has directed...
That is the contention. That is the contention on which the ED has gone to the Supreme Court. I am merely quoting I'm
will
merely
come to know
quoting, and let me
whether
quote.
there is a substantial case against Mr. Senthil Balaji or not.
Okay, let me then read out what the Supreme Court has said. Supreme Court
Before
says.
that, how are you jumping to conclusion?
No, I'm not jumping to any conclusion. I'm reading out what the Supreme Court has said. The Supreme